Hola, bota from Portugal. The sun is beginning to set. It's 6 o'clock. It's a beautiful evening. And when the clocks go back, I was just thinking it's going to be 7 o'clock and it's going to be as light as this out the window. Looking out over the well-pruned vineyard. It's a lovely evening to say hi to you all. Q&A with the head gardener and the Fresh Air team. The head gardener, of course, is Mr. Lee McGrady on the left of your screen there. And Anna is in the middle of the screen there. And when John comes back, he'll be completing the team of the Fresh Air crew who are encouraging us all around the world, Portugal, UK here, and everywhere else to get out and grow. And that's what we're all about here on a Monday evening between 6:15 and 7 o'clock, Portugal and UK time. So, Anna, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been pretty much a full-on week since last Monday up to Sunday. So I'm technically ready for a weekend now. But yeah, yes, sort of found out something a bit new about me. But so it's been a bit of a sort of week of discovery, week of technicals, week of yes, absolutely anything that could happen did really. But on the upside, Manchester United did win in the football, so yes, that was one of the good points.
Excellent. But, it's interesting when you need a weekend to get over your weekend. You obviously have been busy. John's here as well. How are you doing, John? How's it looking out of your window in beautiful Devon?
It's good actually. I'll just turn the computer around. Can you see that like that? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. The bar in there. Bring it down a bit so you can see.
Very nice. Very nice. Beautiful Devon. Fabulous.
Yes.
And you've had an all right sort of week, have you?
Not too bad. Not too bad, I suppose. Not too bad. Yeah.
Okay. And let's go to the head gardener who was mowing his lawn, I think. Was it earlier today, Lee?
Yeah, it was lunchtime. Yeah. In my lunch break.
Yeah, I thought I was on the centre court for a minute with you. It's amazing what you've done. Is it in 3 weeks, you said?
Well, it was sown 4 or 5 weeks ago, but it's 3 weeks since it's been showing. So, yeah, in 3 weeks of growth, it's come on really well.
Incredible.
And I'll do the same to the other around so you can see. I don't know how good you can see.
Can you see? Yeah. That's a lovely vista, isn't it? Yeah. Run across the lawn barefoot and then jump into the swimming pool. Looks great.
Oh, it's nice when the sun's out. Yeah.
We've got a good evening already. So let us know where you are, who you are, where you're at in terms of gardening experience. Any questions as you've got, you can see on the scroller on the ticker tape below the screen there. Any questions for this team? Do shout them out. And also, if you're an experienced gardener, you might want to chip in with a bit of insight and experience as well. But Paul and Louise are in the UK saying good evening all. How does your garden grow, Paul and Louise? Do let us know anything you want to know at this interesting time of year. So, yeah, let's check in with the head gardener, talking about an interesting time of year. Spring has sprung and all that. It's really starting to happen now, Lee. What have you been up to?
Oh, well, I've actually had quite a lot of maintenance work this week, so nothing greatly exciting. I've just been watering my seedlings. I'm preparing my beds for the veg going in. I've had a day at doing that. Just hard work, really. Just hard work, pruning, shaving, trimming. Nothing spectacular to report apart from my new lovely lawn.
And your preparation.
I can't stop looking at it.
I don't blame you. So it sounds like a lot of preparation for things to come. You said you've got your getting your bed sorted out. What's your method for your beds there? Because there has been a little bit of controversy, hasn't there, about the no dig method, the traditional method. How are you setting things up for your growing season?
As you're aware, I don't go with the no dig situation. I like to dig in, and I've been quite fortunate this year. Last year, the soil we had was well used, and I think it was worn out. So we've been doing the lawns this year. I've had a lot of excess soil. So I've been transporting that up onto the veg beds. So they're looking a bit unsightly at the moment, looking like I've got big moles in there. But it's all breaking down, it's all getting ready. I've got a few bits in there already. But yeah, I could actually take you for a guided tour. I could walk around with the camera and show you. That might be easier.
Yeah, now you're talking. Fantastic. Thank you.
So we'll do a little tour of the garden.
All right.
The new lawn. The second new lawn down by the pool. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
That's just coming on. And then we've got the big lawn with the fruit trees in it. Oranges, apples, cherries. Trees coming on flowering. Oh, the wistaria's just started to flower.
Oh, beautiful.
That's looking really nice at the moment. I really do like the wisteria, and the bees love it.
Yeah.
And this is my veg bed. I know they look bad.
Yikes!
You look bad at the moment. Give me a couple of days and they'll be fine.
All right.
I've got a few seedlings out here. If you can see those, I'll
Yes,
get the camera right.
Yeah, what's in there?
I've got a few things in the trays. I tell you what, I can show you.
Lee, I was just going to say, I've heard of a raised bed, but that one's taking it to the next level.
Oh, look at those beautiful lilies. Fantastic.
Yeah, they're something I put in last year. They were here originally, and they've taken really well.
Beautiful. Birds of paradise. Birds of paradise next to them. Yeah. Rewind, Lee, because birds of paradise are very unusual for some people, aren't they?
They're
everywhere.
A collection.
Yeah, fantastic.
I don't know how far back I can go. What we've got: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's on those steps alone. There's the 6 big birds of paradise.
Beautiful.
They come up really well. They need a bit of a tidy out.
Yeah.
My garlic's in, Carl. How's your garlic going?
Not too bad. Still in the pots, but it has survived. That's the best I can say.
Look at my little garlic. What
Oh,
are they at? They're at about a foot and a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the weeds. I'm embarrassed now. It's full of weeds.
Look at those hedge
No, this is all soil. This is all soil from the lawns that I've taken up. So they've just been moved up here and piled up for now.
Yeah.
Letting it break down. I'll pull a beetroot. Should I have a here?
Yeah, pull a beetroot. Be rude not to.
I'll pull a beetroot. Oh, look at that.
Get him out. Beetroot tonight, kids, for dinner.
They were overrooted. Overwintered. I put them in. I think maybe October last year. And this is my big tomato bed, which again is looking a bit messy at the moment. But
how many tomatoes are you planning to grow?
I'll do maybe 60 plants, maybe 60 tomato plants.
Really?
Not just in here. I might get 20 in there, but the rest will go in the bottom bed down there and in tubs around the house. And they just look pretty. I don't know how do I get on with my tumblers. Should we check my compost while we're here?
Your compost. What's going on in there?
Let's have a look. Oh, it's warm. It's warm.
Hot and dirty.
That's breaking down really well.
Yeah.
It's been in. Yeah, that's the new one. This is the old one. Got a few flies in there. I'll get my arm in.
Oh, he's going in.
Oh, it's looking not too bad. Oh, smells. It smells.
It's messy, right?
We've got the top terrace as well.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can see. That's my new seedling bed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move my seedlings up here because it gets quite a lot of sunlight at the back of the house. So this is just something I've knocked together with some old slates we have. I'm going to start for a lot of my seeds. I'm going to start up in here.
Great.
Yeah. Apart from that, the garden's looking pretty good.
Oh, the wisteria looks great from there.
Oh, the wisteria is beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll give you some nice.
We inherited it from the last owners.
Yeah, but that's going to be a beautiful.
We were quite lucky. We were quite lucky. It was well developed when we moved in. So
yeah,
I
know
neighbours' dogs.
Back in the UK, Lee, I mean, they can take decades to flower, can't they? Is it different in Portugal with the Glycinia, the wisteria? Oh, look at that! Is that a lemon? Nearly as big as
yeah,
an egg.
and the tree's full of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think there's a small one on the tree. Although it has just finished flowering, so I expect a few more coming off.
Terrific.
But they're looking great.
They are.
That lemon tree was really badly diseased when we moved in. I've had to treat it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So plum tree there. behind me. Just walking past.
Oh.
Say hello. Yeah. Oh, some more.
Can we have
Some more lilies.
David's asked for a weather report? Oh, some more beautiful lilies. Fantastic. What's your
And
temperature?
then we've got the strawberries in the pots in the
Oh, nice.
bags. They've got some good flowers on.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get the camera back.
that's perfect.
Oh, and this is my little. I'm trying to get the camera back again. This is a little herb bed that we have. All different herbs right in front of the kitchen.
Good idea. Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Just wanted to. Yeah. So look. Well, we were. I think we got to 19 today, temperature wise.
Yeah.
It's the nighttime temperatures that bother me. So I don't really look at daytime temperatures because you can deal with that as it comes. The nighttime temperatures are still at double figures at the moment. I don't think we've had a really cold night.
Okay.
So I'm quite happy with 10s and 11s.
So staying above 10 around the Lisbon area, and then edging into 20 during the day as well, which is what we've been looking forward to. That's fantastic. That's an answer your question there, David, a bit bol. That's how it is. It is edging up to 20 all over Portugal at the moment. And hello to you, my friend. John likes your yard there. Says your yard is beautiful, and he's checking in from rural Missouri in the USA. What's a typical crop over there, John? What do you grow mostly, if anything? And Ludwig Dingledine is here with us. Hello to you as well, Ludwig. And the first question of the evening for Paul and Louise. Our passion flower has been hit by frost. Any thoughts on whether to cut it right back or wait to see if there's still some life in it, Lee?
I would cut it right back, personally. We've had a lot of frost damage here this year, funnily enough. A lot of the birds of paradise in my customers' garden has well been affected. And I'm just telling everybody, if it's been hit, cut it back and let it regrow.
Okay, good advice. Good advice. John Gibson, the barking dogs are driving my dogs crazy, breaking the big for life.
The whole of Portugal is the same. If you're going to buy a property in Portugal, make sure your neighbours don't have dogs, because they carry on all day long and nobody seems to care.
It's amazing.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Cockerels, dogs, and sometimes the old Pimba Festa music as well. People are very open-minded with that sort of stuff. It's quite amazing. So you have to be aware of that and get used to it. Or as Lee says, don't live near dogs. Obrigado to you, Lee, from Paul and Louise. So cut that back. We were talking about pruning, weren't we, the other day? And I heard a really good practical pruning tip on the radio recently, Boom Radio, which I've been listening to recently. And this gardener was saying, with roses, for example, you cut them back so the wind doesn't catch them. If you think about, well, this is his theory anyway. If you think about the wind blowing on a rose bush, if you prune it so that it isn't too bushy and won't get moved around by the wind, what you're doing is protecting the roots and where it meets the ground. So you're actually adjusting the center of gravity in a way, aren't you, or the aerodynamics. So if you think of it aerodynamically, the pruning can help save the center of gravity of the plant, as it were, or the heart of the plant. Is that a theory you put your name to, Lee?
It's really difficult when people ask you about pruning, because you get asked all the time about different techniques of pruning. Now, the thing that always stuck with me from being an apprentice was the 3 Ds. When you approach anything to prune it, dead, damaged, and diseased, always take them off.
Okay.
And then you need to stand back and look at the environment. Now, if you're in an open area where you get a lot of wind, then it would make sense to prune for the conditions.
Yes.
But maybe you're in an area where you've got a sheltered wall and you want the roses to grow high on the wall. So then you would prune for maybe a fan effect, or you want something that's low growing to be beneath the window. So every rose is different. You would always, the 3 Ds, dead, damaged and diseased, and then stand back and look at the whole picture.
Even better. Even better. I thought you'd be able to improve on that.
I would always say the same with trees as well. When people ask about pruning olive trees or lemon trees or orange trees, you've got to take into effect the surroundings, the area around it.
Yes.
And so again, I always recommend you look at your neighbours. You walk down the street, you see how everybody else is doing it in the past, and see what works best in your environment, because everyone lives in a different pocket and different wind, different frost, different rainfall.
Very good.
It takes a lot of getting used to. Over the years, you learn. I've learned just to be nosy, just to look over garden fences, look into gardens, and then judge how the plant works in that microclimate.
Superb.
So, yeah,
it sounds like being a sort of horticultural detective and having a little bit of a nosy about and putting a theory together. That's really good. That's great. That's really taking it a stage further with the pruning tip there. That's brilliant. Thanks, Lee. Jason says, everyone has dogs by us. I think it's to keep the boar off the land. Yeah, that's true, isn't it, Jason? It is about keeping all kinds of visitors away. The dogs are basically your primitive burglar alarm as well, aren't they? On to alert the owners that there's someone about, especially if it's semi-rural. And of course, yeah, they'll be keeping the wild boar off as well with any luck, and foxes and stuff who are coming after your chickens. So yeah, good shout on that, Jason. How's it going in your garden? I know you're a keen grower. Any pictures or a tour even someday will be fantastic. How's it going in your garden at the moment, Jason? What are you putting in at the moment? John in Missouri says corn and soybeans on the farm, regular garden items, tomatoes, peppers, etc. So you've got a farm in Missouri, have you, John? That's amazing. We had the thanks back from Paul and Louise and David Abitbol. I think this is probably true. The weather there seems similar to Southern California. I think Portugal and California share a lot of similarities, don't they? What'd you say, Lee?
Yeah, very much. One of the YouTubers that I enjoy watching, I can't think of his name now. He's in Southern California.
Yeah.
And whenever his videos come out, we're always sort of in sync weather-wise.
Yeah, yeah.
His name will come to me later. The name of the program will come to me later. I'll mention it. I'll put it in a thread. But he's a good grower, and it is very similar to what we get here in Portugal.
Yes, similar latitude, western coast vibe. The way the sun hits it and everything. I've really seen that when I lived in Lisbon. I thought, some days remind me of Los Angeles. It's quite amazing. Yes, John, well spotted. Birds of Paradise sound like a 70s rock band. It's true. Can't be denied.
On that subject, I was just wondering, this is a bit of fun for this show, and maybe just a bit of fun to post in the group for the week. But I was thinking, what other plants might sound like rock bands or just musicians or bands in general? So post your suggestions in the comments if you want to, of course.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much indeed. No, Anna's got a few questions. Just a last comment then before we go there. And we've got a great article, actually a few articles to share, depending on how many questions come in. But Paul and Louise telling us they've just sown lettuce, beetroot, radish, spring onions and spinach this very day. Which part of UK are you in, Paul and Louise? I forget, sorry. And potatoes are chitting, which is a good thing, everybody. Garlic is coming up well. Can you talk to us about chitting with a C? Stop sniggering, John. With a, I'm sniggering as well, by the way. What is chitting, head gardener?
Chitting is a term that people use when the potatoes are starting to set root or starting to develop on the outside. It's nothing naughty, John. Calm down. Quite a few people go and look for what the gardening term is considered a seed potato. I never do that. I buy my potatoes from the supermarket and I leave them to chit. It's just I've got some. I think I've got some in the bottom drawer. Give me a minute. I'll return with my chitted potatoes.
He's not letting it lie. East Midlands, UK. Oh, fantastic. Paul and Louise, presumably handy for the airport, flying out to Portugal soon, hopefully. We'll ask this question, John, when the head gardener comes back, and we'll get him to extrapolate from Lisbon, where he lives, down. And he is available for hire, everybody. He does this out of the goodness of his heart. He joins us and answers questions. But he's a professional gardener in Lisbon. If you need to hire somebody, check in with Lee. And here he is. He's back with a chitted potato. Let's give him the screen. Check it out.
Do you know, I was actually when I was actually looking at those, it was actually reminding me that's what our potatoes seem to do, actually in a bag in the cupboard in the kitchen, and they're just in complete darkness, and they always end up like that. New potatoes mostly, or the smaller ones. And I always wondered why on earth they did that, considering they're just in complete darkness.
It's amazing. They're looking for the light, aren't they? Like us all, they're looking for the light. There he is, well and truly chitted there.
Well, chitted potatoes. They should go in probably next week.
Terrific.
I've got 7 or 8 different varieties, maybe 10, 12 of each potato. So I'm going to have all in tubs this year. I'm only going to plant my chitted potatoes out in tubs, just to make it easier to retrieve the new growth next year. So this year, I'm also doing a bit of experiment. I've got a lot of smaller chitted potatoes, and I've got some larger chitted potatoes. Try not to swear. So I'm going to do a bit of a comparison. I'll put 5 small ones in a tub and 2 large ones in a tub. And then at the end of the year, I can see which ones have done best in tubs.
Yeah,
so
that's more of this sort of detective work and research, isn't it? Which we can see you're really into year on year.
Well, I've always collected the best, the biggest and the best chitted potatoes to plant out. But after talking to an old friend of mine who will put anything underground, he thinks that the smaller chitted potatoes do well in tubs compared to the big ones.
Okay.
As a big experiment, I'm going to try and do both and maintain them both the same, plant them at the same time, the same compost, the same tubs, and see what we get at the end.
And I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's a miracle, isn't it? You've got those things there that look like some kind of, weird science fiction thing going on there that have grown, as Anna says, in complete darkness or near enough complete darkness. They're looking for the light. You stick them in the soil and they gift you more new fresh potatoes. Food to eat for human beings. It's quite extraordinary. We take it, I think, in our stride, and sometimes perhaps not as amazed and grateful as we might be with this incredible miracle in the ground.
Well, I think the first time I grew potatoes, I was 8 or 9 years old. Did it in my parents' garden, and I was amazed. My parents were amazed, and my neighbours were amazed. The only person that wasn't amazed was my granddad, who'd encouraged me to do it. And I've been obsessed ever since. So I'm knocking on 50, and it's still every year it fascinates me on what I can do new, how I can develop it, how it can be manipulated to get a better crop, or left alone to think. There's so many variations on growing veg. I don't think you're ever going to learn everything, and it's just good fun trying.
Brilliant. And that's a great shout there, Lee. Your gardening inspiration. I think we probably all got one. What was your granddad's name?
William. Yeah.
Grand William, and he was your gardening inspiration. Anna, I imagine you've got 1 or 2 gardening heroes as well from the time at Hannah's. John, you might have as well, a relative or whatever. And anyone tuned in tonight, let us know who your inspiration was. And it's always lovely when it's an older sort of, an elder in the family. It's fantastic information to pass on to the generations, I think. Jason saying, mentioning the frost there as you were, Lee, just had to replace all our cabbage, broccoli and tomatoes because of frost. What a shame. Weeding out between all of the pines at the moment, hoping to break the cycle of Roundup used by the previous owner. I mean, people are quick to resort to Roundup in Portugal, aren't they?
I'm sorry, but I love the stuff.
Do you? He loves it. He's drinking it at the moment. Not really.
I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that so quickly.
Yes.
I'm fully qualified. I'm fully registered, fully licensed to use it. I use it when necessary, and I use it with a correct mixture.
Okay.
When it's used properly, it's a good arsenal. It's a good tool, a good weapon to have in your arsenal.
Yes.
When it's misused, as it's been done in Portugal for so many years, it becomes a problem. Yeah.
Okay. So All about balance as ever there. Okay. So yeah, sorry to hear about your frost loss there. I don't know how new you are to growing in Portugal, but it sounds like you might be learning as well. And Paul and Louise are in the East Midlands, but they have a connection with Central Portugal, and keen to get back by the sound of it to enjoy this springtime over here. So Anna, can we have a few of the questions that came in through other means?
Yes, I've got about 5 from people I know. They're actually all on completely different subjects, and no 2 questions on the same subject. So I'm just working out which one to ask first. I've got one about how to prune a gooseberry bush from my one of my family members in Weston-super-Mare.
Very good.
Okay. Well, again, it's difficult without a photograph. The first thing you should know about gooseberries is you should always have 2. They should be companion plants. You always get a better crop if they're able to cross-pollinate. So, first thing about gooseberries I know. I like to leave last year's growth on and remove the years before, so it goes on a yearly cycle. So you leave this year's growth on, but you prune off last year's growth, and you can always tell it's much woodier, it's much hardier. And then I only like to have 3 stems growing at one time. So you've got 3 stems from last year, and you allow 3 stems to grow from this year. Gooseberries are fairly straightforward. You can't kill them if you try. They'll always bounce back. Genuinely, you can't kill gooseberries. They've got a really big rootstock on them, and they're full of energy. So, again, from my personal experience, at least 2 gooseberry bushes, and leave 3 stems on, removing last year's stems to encourage this year's. No, not last year. Leave last year's stems on and remove the year before stems on to encourage this year's.
And
seriously, I also like to keep them quite low as well. Now, I'm not sure what stage they're going to be in the south of England at the moment. I imagine they're just starting to shoot. So you might get the opportunity to just take the tops off each of the stems just to keep them low. Because I know when gooseberries get high with the weight, they could sometimes lean and expand and fall over. Because the gooseberry itself is quite a heavy berry. So if it's on a thin stem, it starts to pull and lean, and then the bit of wind, it could cause damage to the stems. So I like to keep my gooseberries short and tight. Pardon?
Sorry to interrupt there. Do you actually like eating them?
No, I like giving them away.
Isn't that what happens to all gooseberries? Apart from the very occasional minority of people who like them, but most people, I think, give them away, right?
I'd never grown. I took an allotment on many years ago at the back end of Rochdale, and that already had a well-established set of gooseberries in it. But the lady on the next plot loved them, so I would always swap my gooseberries for her chicken eggs because I never had chickens. So excellent. It worked well. But I do like to grow them, and I think they're pretty-looking plants, and it's a pretty fruit. Yeah, it's a nice round green mix of green colours. They're pretty to look at. They just don't taste very nice. But the lady next door loved them, so that was great.
Good. That's the sort of relationship you want to create, isn't it, with any of the crops you don't actually like for yourself. Just quickly, then, going back to the Roundup, is Roundup requires a license in Portugal? Asks John. Is that right?
Unfortunately, you can buy a weaker type of Roundup over the counter, but it's like dishwater. It's no good to anybody. So people buy a litre spray bottle over the counter, and it's not very good stuff, and they spray it and nothing works, so they spray it again, and then they overuse it. They think they need to keep adding. But the stuff they're buying is it's an over-the-counter mix. It's no good for anybody. The stuff we use is a professional mix where I have to mix it myself. So it's much stronger. So you use less of it.
Yep, fair enough.
Yeah, I've always used it in the right environment. That's the way you have to look at it.
Fair play, Lee. Another one from John quickly. Sorry, Anna, but this was a few minutes ago now. What kind of tomato growing season in the Algarve for John there, Lee? I mean, it's going to be you're going to have a good season there, but it's going to be even longer in the Algarve, right?
I imagine so. I mean, we were growing up. Just one moment. Carl, when did we pull the last of tomatoes last year? Was it end of September, October? Yeah, we were growing tomatoes up until I think it was October.
Terrific.
Oh, well into October apparently.
Yeah.
I've started the seeds now, which might be a little bit premature. I think they just. I did the same last year. We started early. It took a little bit of time to get going. But in the Algarve, I imagine it gets 2 weeks either side of us. In Lisbon, it's got to be. If you think Manchester, Scotland, yeah, I imagine it gets 2 weeks before us and 2 weeks after us. So he could still be pulling his tomatoes well into
Halloween.
October, end of October.
Yeah, tomatoes Halloween. Who'd have thought it? Superb. Gary has I will come back to Gary. Gary's got a fig-related question. Another one from you, Anna, because I know you've been working hard to track these questions down during the week.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I'm just working out which one to do next. I've got one. I'll do one which is a bit of a problem plant. What have I done here? So I've just opened up something on my laptop. What have I done? Whoops, sorry. Yeah, we've got a one on ivy. This one's for my dad in Torquay. Basically, how do you kill it? It's actually growing up a fence, and I didn't actually get the dimensions of the fence, I'm afraid, but I do know it's painted wood, and it's actually coming from the neighbour's fence next door, and it's growing through the wood panels.
Unfortunately, it's bad news for your dad. Unfortunately, it's bad news for your dad. If it's on your neighbour's property, then there's really nothing he can do about cut it back all the time and it coming through, but he won't win. Ivy is very vigorous. It grows very quickly. He's gonna unless he speaks to his neighbour and explains the issue with it, because it will damage his fence. A lot of people in England have the waning lap fencing, and the ivy can get between the laps.
Yes.
And it can just push the fence to pieces. It splits fencing very easily. With it being in his neighbour's garden, it would be virtually impossible for him to kill it, to kill the main trunk of it. Yeah, he's on a cruiser. He has to speak to his neighbour nicely and ask him to go around and dig it up. That's the only way to win.
Failing that, Anna, it's balaclavas on one evening under the cover of darkness.
Yeah.
Well, it's been done before, Carl.
Fantastic. Anna, any more from you?
Yes, I've got one from my friend in the Bedford area, and it's another one on allotments, and he was wondering what flowers are good to grow to encourage pollination of vegetables for an allotment.
Love, what a great question. This is the sort of thing I love. I personally always go for the wildflower mixes that would suit the Bedfordshire area. You'll find it very easily. You just Google it. There'll be a specific wildflowers that do well in his area with his soil type. But apart from that, sunflowers are fantastic. And my favourite is the French marigold. Very cheap, very easy to grow, and they're also a great a distraction for the slugs and snails. So if you've got your veg all laid out and you surround your veg with marigolds, they work as like a sacrificial plant for the slugs and snails. Oh, yeah. You would always prefer to eat the marigolds than to eat your veg. So it's like an indicator. When you see marigolds going weak, you know you've got a slug problem.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a great. I don't like the look of the marigolds. I don't like the smell of them because they have a dusty smell of a French marigold. It's nothing appeals to me about, but they work great as a sacrificial plant. So you can tell your friend sunflowers, wildflower mix, and marigolds. They work every time, and they're great. Oh, also sweet peas.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
I've already sold my sweet peas before I sold my actual peas. The sweet peas went in last week into little seed trays, and I'll do my normal peas this week at some point. So the sweet peas will be flowering just as the actual peas do as well. So
Terrific.
sweet peas, sunflowers, marigolds, wildflower mix.
Terrific.
Thank you.
It's one of my favourite subjects.
Really? See that? You can see you're passionate about that. Tell me you like the aroma of sweet peas, though.
I had another old friend who was an avid gardener, and he grew sweet peas every year from, I must have been 12 years old when I first come across the sweet pea as a garden plant. And I immediately fell in love with the smell, the look, the speed of growth,
yeah,
and the longevity of them. If you look after them well, you get quite a long growing period with them, a flowering period. I think it's one of the least recognised best plants. You either love them, and once you grow them for the rest of your life, or you're not really aware of the benefits of having them.
Yeah.
So I've grown sweet peas every year that I've been a gardener for, and I've always enjoyed it.
What a beautiful tribute to the sweet pea. Fantastic. Okay, to figs now. In Alvázora, central Portugal. Last year, my fig had fruit. They had the fruits develop there, and then they just kept dropping off. I kept them watered well. That's very disappointing, isn't it? If your figs keep dropping off your fig tree, what's to be done there, Lee?
Well, the only disappointing thing is my fig tree hasn't done anything. In 2.5 years, I've had nothing off my fig. But I might have just bought a bad one. He might actually be overwatering it.
Okay.
It is a thing. He said he's watered it well.
Yeah.
And he's watered it regularly. I know there are some plants, and I think fig might be one of them, if I remember correctly, that like to be they like to struggle a little bit. They like to be treated badly.
Yeah.
I don't mean to go out and beat your fig tree and shout abuse at it. But when the figs start to come on, just leave it be. Stop the watering. Stop feeding it for sure. Because a lot of people see the fruit coming on and start to feed it then, and you're sort of past the point of feeding it. You need to feed it pre-fruit coming on. So he could water it and feed it up until the point when the figs start to develop, and then stop. And I mean stop. No water, no niceties with it. Don't even talk to it. Don't look at it. And see what happens. See what happens this year. And it'd be interesting if he would do that. It would be interesting to hear back at the end of the season and see if it's maintained its fruit through the summer. But yeah, that's what I would do. If last year he's looked after it well, this year kind of hands off a little bit and see how it goes.
Give it a bit of adversity there, Gary. Yeah, because some plants do appreciate that, don't they? A bit of a struggle, it would seem, by human standards, I guess. And there's nothing. I mean, that's one of my great pleasures here in Portugal is getting a really ripe fig, or they call it the wasp tomb, because it has to have a wasp fertilize it, doesn't it, and die inside the fruit or something crazy like that. But it's one of the most beautiful things to pick from a tree while it's still hot in the sun and eat it.
I'm not a big fan of figs.
Really?
But I do have a fig tree because it was cheap when I bought it. It seemed like too good an offer to refuse. But again, I'll grow it. I'm sure one of the family would love it. So it's there.
I love them. Absolutely love them. Fiona's here. A couple of people apologising for being late. I don't know what sort of punishment you give them, head gardener. Do they have to do extra weeding if they're late?
I think they should. I think they should go out and talk to the carrots and apologise.
Yep, absolutely. Spring has sprung, says Fiona. Evening jobs take longer because there's so much to stop and look at. Sorry I'm late. Oh, that's lovely. Obviously enjoying your garden there, Fiona. Hello from Milton in Canada, from Michael Consiglio. John, did I think, am I thinking correctly here that you may have seen Basil Fawlty thrashing a fig tree in your mind's eye? I saw you smirking when Lee was talking about bashing your fig tree.
Yeah, that did cross my mind, actually, to be fair. Yeah.
Like it, you know, the scene, the Fawlty Towers scene with the fig tree. We can imagine how that might go. What is the best way to get rid of scale insect on my oranges? Tried using soapy water, but they just seem to love bath time even more. Past the loofah. I watched them heading off with their shower caps and towels. They liked it that much. So scale insect, what's the deal there, Lee?
She's right. She's using the right thing. I would recommend soapy water. But I think sometimes you really need to hit them. So not just spraying soapy water on them. Get a cloth or a good sponge of soapy water and actually wipe down as much as you can reach. And leave the tree or the bush or the rose or whatever. Leave it wet. Leave it wet with bubbles. They just don't like it. They don't like the bubbly soapiness, and they can't tolerate the bubbles. So
maybe a loofah.
Yeah. There are chemicals that you can buy to get rid of scale insects, but it's unnecessary. It's an unnecessary waste of money. Soapy water should do.
All right, I've not seen them. I mean, are these a microscopic pest, or can you actually see them?
No, there's lots of variations on it.
Right.
And there's little leaf cutters to tiny little things almost like ants, through to quite large, look like a shield beetle. So there's different variations in it, and I've dealt with 3 or 4 different types in Portugal while I've been here, and I do the same, soapy water. But sometimes you really need to get in there and give the tree a wash like you're washing your car.
All right, fair enough. Bradley also apologising for being late. Yeah, you've got to go out and talk to your fruit or your carrots, or do extra weeding, Bradley. Great to have your company. Do the fruits and vegetables taste better when grown from a garden as opposed to just getting them from the grocery store? What do we think, Lee, generally speaking?
Definitely. Most definitely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. A lot of the fruit and veg that's grown, if you think of tomatoes in Portugal, a lot of stuff selling in supermarkets aren't actually grown in Portugal. They're grown in Spain and Italy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, occasionally, they're sprayed with a preservative chemical to make them last that little bit longer on the shelf. And it's high-intensity farming. You're never going to get great quality vegetables when you grow in high intensity. I don't think there's nothing quite like pulling a carrot out of the ground, bringing it in, chopping it, and putting it straight into your salad with the same onion that you took from the garden, with the same beetroot you've took from your garden. When it's really fresh, when it's straight from the ground, there's no comparison. There just isn't.
No, that's right. You know, the love's there, isn't it? You've seen it grow, and you're involved, aren't you? At a passionate level. John, take care, mate. We know John's got to go promptly at 7. See you next week, buddy.
Good night, John.
Yeah. So I mean, it's there's so much to it. It's not just about possible chemicals, is it? There's something about the investment and the love, isn't there? And the connection you've made.
Without getting too philosophical about it, eating something fresh is always going to taste better than eating something that's been picked and preserved for a week.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you've grown it yourself and you've put the effort in, and then you've retrieved that effort from the garden, it just tastes 10 times better because you've done it yourself.
And I'm guessing you remember eating those potatoes you grew when you were 8. You can almost taste them again, can't you? What did you boil them up and slather them in butter?
God, I can't remember. I remember having a really good crop on the first year.
Right.
And then the second year, I remember digging up the gas pipe in my dad's front garden. That was my first. I'd grown potatoes in the first year, and then they bought me a book about growing vegetables, and it explained the method of double digging, where you take the top layer away and you turn over the bottom layer and you put the top layer back in, And I thought, I'm doing that in the spring until I got halfway through the garden and I dug the gas pipe up and we had to call the gas board to come in.
Yes, they remembered you in the area for that, I expect.
I was going to say,
Well, yeah.
I could see that as a subject. Your best gardening bloopers.
Yes, definitely. Fantastic, Anna. We should be finishing now, but we've got some extra questions. You all right for a minute, Lee? You all right for a minute, Anna?
Can I just mention something that was asked earlier today? And
Yes.
I did say I'd mention it today.
Of course.
I can't think who asked the question. It was about polystyrene sea trays.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think who asked the question. Anyway, as a professional horticulturalist, I would always recommend the polystyrene sea trays. They retain the water better when spraying, when watering, especially in the climate we're in here. The plastic sea trays can almost melt in the heat.
Yeah.
So if you've got polystyrene, I would always recommend that over the plastic. But I think in the question, if I remember correctly, she said the seeds have only been in for 14 days and she was worried they weren't coming up. Don't worry, give them time, they will come. It's very early in the season.
All right, good to know.
Stick with the polystyrene and just give it time. Patience is a virtue and they will come up.
Learn in the garden. Bradley, I'm sorry, this was asked about 6-7 minutes ago. Are they container or in the ground? Was that about the tomatoes? I can't remember now. What do you think that was referring to? Maybe you can let us know, Bradley. Apologies, I've only just tuned in. All you latecomers tonight, you know where we are, 6:15 every Monday evening, Portugal time. Hoping to be living in the Algarve before too long. My favourite all-time plants, flowers are roses, gladioli and sweet peas. What chance have I of growing them? Thanks. So we've already said, Carol, great to have your company tonight. The sweet peas are fine. How do roses and gladioli fare, Lee, in this climate?
Superb. I've got roses in my own garden, and I have a garden that I maintain with a great selection of gladioli in them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're a bit further north, but I can't imagine the Algarve is that much different if you keep the watering up to scratch and you use your shade correctly in your garden, using the shade from your walls or maybe a fence in the heat of the day.
Yeah.
As long as you plant correctly, you should have no problem with any.
All right. Yes, the fig. Bradley was talking about the figs. Are they in the ground or in containers? And Gary was saying they were in containers, but the oranges were in the ground. So could that be a problem? Is that why they don't like? Do they need a long taproot or something? And they're unhappy in a container?
They should be absolutely fine in containers. They should be absolutely fine as long as it's big enough to suit the plant. As long as it's not getting a root ball that's too tight. As long as it's not knotting itself up, it should be. As long as let me explain that again. As long as the container is big enough for the plant, there should be no problem at all.
Okay.
Although mine's in the here.
All right. Fiona saying, depending on the ivy, could be full of nutrients or medicinal properties. So reckon it has either free medicine or an excellent. No, the head gardener's not happy about that. Or excellent material to compost. Because in the compost heap, does it not keep growing as like a cutting?
Ivy is a nightmare. I've had so many customers complaining about neighbours growing ivy. I've had customers complaining that the ivy's taking the house down. Ivy's in guttering, ivy's in drains, ivy's choking trees. Oh, it's a nightmare. I would never grow it.
Kill it with fire. Kill it with fire, says Lee, possibly. You two typically, Fiona and Lee, having a difference of opinion there on something. We welcome it. Figs like to find their own watersheds as well. The very tastiest ones grow wild, which gives you a clue, doesn't it? If something is growing wild, then you know that nature's taking care of business and you don't have to worry too much.
That's just what I was saying. Just maintain it until the point where it should be doing its own thing and then leave it be. And you'll find that most fruit get on quite nicely on their own.
Yeah, they know what to do, don't they? They've been doing it long before us.
Yes, yeah.
And Faulty Towers is on the BBC tonight. Maybe that's where John went. We whetted his appetite for a bit of John Cleese, and he's popped off to go watch it. Another latecomer here. Maybe, yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Maybe we're on at the wrong time. Another latecomer here, sneaking in at the back. Hi, Louise. Looking forward to your company on Wednesday morning, telling us about your journey between UK and Portugal. Can latecomers ask a question? Lee, is that allowed?
Yeah, go for it. I'm in no rush to go anywhere.
Okay, and I know Anna's got a question about roses. Go on, Anna.
That's right. So I've just noticed I've got a couple of questions, but I've just seen. I've got one on peonies and I've got one on roses, and the one for roses is for my aunt in Ipplepen, and she was wondering what companion plants are good for roses.
Good question.
Ooh, that is a good question, because personally, I don't. Well, you see, being a traditional gardener, I think roses should be on their own. I don't really put them in with anything. I like a nice clean rose bed where it's just the rose itself. But let me think. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'd have to use my imagination.
Interesting.
I'll come back on that. Give me a chance to think about that, because I've always personally thought that roses should be kept in a rose bed and maintained as a rose bed. So it's got quite high feed ratio with it, and it needs to be manured regularly, and the ground should be kept clean of weeds, so it looks at its best all the time. So let me think about that, and I'll post something in the group about it when I've had a brainwave.
Terrific.
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Gary's going with the pansies with his roses. That's his combo that he likes.
You see, I wouldn't go with the pansies, because I think they're short-lived. There might be a nice seasonal. Yeah, I suppose the flower would look nice. Oh, it might. Yeah, the flower might look nice. Yeah.
Okay, and another one from the traditional English garden by the sound of it. Mum always had tulips around her rose bed, so they were gone before the roses came into bloom. That's forward thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great way to do it, because just as the tulips will be passing over, will be time to feed for the roses. So just when the tulips come to an end, you can then get your manure on and start prepping the ground for the summer. So yeah, tulips is a great idea. Yeah.
Thanks, Fiona. She's adding as well. One of the incredible things I found out here is you can stick a cutting of a rose into the ground in autumn and it will grow. Obviously, it'll be surprised which rose comes through, though, as won't necessarily match the donor plant. Interesting. So such fertile and forgiving conditions there. Jason, appreciating the show tonight. Great show tonight, guys. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate your input. Really do. And did you have another question there, Anna, concluding?
I've just got one more. Is one for Mum. She was just wondering what conditions are peonies best for growing in.
What condition? What does she mean? Does she mean temperature, shade, soil type?
I'm thinking so. Yeah, I didn't actually check about that, I'm afraid. I can always look into it and get back to you in a week. But yeah, I'm guessing it's the basics. Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
I would always recommend good rich soil for peonies. They are quite greedy plants. They do well in the shade, but I don't think the sun's so much of an issue in England that it would affect it. I don't know. You'd have to get me a better form question with more detail on it, and I'll quite happily answer it during the week.
Fair play.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Does neem oil work for scale bugs? Obviously sprayed at night to avoid getting any good guys. That's an interesting thing to say. So
this is something I wanted to say, actually. Yeah, this is something I was thinking about during the week. I posted a little picture of not all heroes wear capes, the bees.
Yes.
And it's coming to the time of year now where the bees are out pollinating, and we should all be careful on what chemicals we're using around that time.
Okay.
So spraying in the late evening when the bees are asleep is a great way to still be able to use your chemicals, but without affecting the bees.
Okay.
So, yeah, this time of year, if you're spraying anything, it should always be done at the latest opportunity to give the chemical time to break down before the bees find it in the morning.
The good guys, as Fiona says. And she's got a couple of alternatives there by the sound of it. Neem oil and really strong garlic chopped up and soaked for a few days in water, then into the sprayer. That'll be an interesting aroma in the garden, won't it? Garlic wafting around about among the jasmine and sweet peas. They're keeping us busy tonight. Louise has got a question in. How can we reduce fruit flies in the compost barrel? I'm not talking swarm or clouds of them. So, yeah, is there anything you can do about that? Or do you just have to let them get on with it?
There is. If you're in Portugal, you had your food show this morning, Carl, which was great.
Yeah.
And you were asking a use for your bacalhau water.
Yes.
So you get a plastic container. I've not got one here. A water bottle, 2-litre water bottle. Put your bacalhau water inside it. Puncture a few holes in the top and hang it from your tree. I'm sure you've seen it in other gardens where they've got trees with plastic bottles hanging from them.
Yes.
That's bacalhau water to attract and kill off the fruit flies and midges and mosquitoes. I
knew it. I knew there would be a use in Portugal for that because we couldn't answer that question this morning. And there it is. That's what's hanging in those plastic bottles. That's how to get rid of the fruit flies. Brilliant. Bingo.
I was busy working. I had my earplugs in, listening to the show. And I thought, I should be. But I couldn't stop to text. So I thought, I'll mention that at some point when I'm speaking to Cal. So there you go. Bacalhau water.
There you
from the
go.
trees.
That's fantastic. I'll tell Frank about that, and I'll use that with my own fruit fly problem, which is an ongoing matter that I won't bring up right now. Pollinators in Portugal include Aremia, good ground cover too, nasturtiums, added bonuses that they are edible, yes, of course, and cosmos. And what a beautiful set of flowers. Aremia, I don't know Aremia, I probably know it to look at, but nasturtiums definitely, and they grow so well here, don't they? You see an entire bank of them. They're beautiful.
I'm doing nasturtiums this year in my wildflower pit, and I'm also doing cosmos in containers a the top of the patio. Not only do I like the look of both the plants, they also are great for the pollinators. So yeah most definitely.
And it's a correction there. It was Aptemia. Aptemia is the name of the flower. So I'll look that up. That sounds beautiful. Thanks, Paul and Louise, for that. And then, I was going to say finally, but no. Peonies, a bit of shade in the heat of the afternoon. They love leaf mold at their feet, apparently, as well. So also, mum love peonies. So there you go. A bit more for your mum as well there, Anna.
Leaf mold's one of the best things you can use on your garden. It's a really strong, slow release feed. So we don't get so much here because you need the broadleaf trees, but back in England, leaf mold is invaluable. I used to collect it by the wheelbarrow load, given half a chance. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
Great stuff. Good to know. I meant to say I'm not talking a few. So it is swarms of fruit flies. Thank you. And yes, Louise has seen those bottles on all the fruit trees around here. That's really nice to tie up that little mystery from this morning. And just finally then, how is this dig versus no dig project going, head gardener McGrady and Fiona Worrell? Is that going to happen this year?
Oh, it's definitely going to happen. You've seen my veg bed. There's a lot of digging to be done.
Okay.
I'm in no rush at the moment because my seeds aren't even showing through. So I'm happy to leave my soil piles to break down.
Yeah.
But give it the next week or 2 or 3 when I get a spare day. I'll start digging all them big piles of soil I've got. I'll start digging all them in. I'll start doing a real proper hard weed. Maybe weeding 2 or 3 times a week just to get rid of any residual seeds that might come through. Because I've always found the more you weed early in the season, the less problem you have later in the season.
Yeah.
So I like to get on, turn the soil over as much as possible before my season is going. Keep turning it over for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And then I feel like a little less at the end of the year. So I'm really keen for the no dig competition, but I already know I'll win, so it's not a problem. Well,
Fiona reckons she's waiting for you to set the plants and the area that you're going to be working on. So we'll let you figure that out.
If Fiona sends me her 5 top veg that she buys on her shopping list every week,
Yeah.
And then we'll go with whatever she likes best. So I'm not picking and choosing. Her top 5 veg, and we'll say 5 meters by 5 meters as a growing area.
Can't
And
wait.
that should give us enough space to do 5 different veggies. Yeah, let's crack it. Let's have it.
He's making my ears bleed with all that disturbing the soil. I'm loving this banter. And thanks, guys. Hey up, Pete. He'll be thinking about whether to go dig or no dig. But I'm loving this. It's like the almost like the hare and the tortoise, isn't it? You know, because there's Lee. There's a lot of digging to be done, and he's standing there. You know, this is Sparta. Oh, with his with his spade in the garden, getting into it. And then there's Fiona just quietly chewing on a blade of grass, looking out over all she surveys, not digging anything, just listening to the plants grow there. So
I'm just getting visions of almost like those mounds earlier. I'm just imagining a whole sort of mound of that in next door's garden with all the digging going on. Can someone stop the digging, please?
The funny thing is, here in Portugal, good quality soil is hard to come by. And it's not cheap. To buy in 2 or 3 tons of good quality soil is going to cost you money. In England, you can buy it anywhere, dirt cheap. So when I was taking the lawns, the plan was always to use the soil from the lawn up on the veg beds. It was always part of the bigger picture. The prior preparation that I always talk about. If you're always thinking that year ahead and you're always planning for what you want to do next, that was always my master plan.
Did you really say soil is dirt cheap?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's been a long time been joke. Yeah.
All right.
Back in the UK, it's like gold dust.
Yeah. Or rocking horse poo, which is probably quite good for the as well.
I've just done the last bit of my tea and it had all tea leaves in it, and now I've got a mouthful of tea leaves, so I'm having a beer to clean my palate.
Yeah, whatever. Definitely tractor time for us. Lots of tools. I'm with Lee. So you've got a supporter in Fundao. So I think this is going to be great. I think the hare and the tortoise in the garden is going to be a really good thing to watch developing over the next few weeks and months. And yeah, I think it might be a yin-yang thing as well, mightn't it?
Well, I've always thought that it should be hard work. I have 2 ways of working. My maintenance work should always be trying to make it as easy as possible, so you can get around and do what you need to do quickly. The vegetables, I've always thought there should be some pain and sweat and suffering in it.
Yeah,
it's part of the cleansing process.
Yeah.
if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
So I like to tell people it's very difficult and hard work. It puts them off.
But you could say as well, it's very difficult for people not to interfere, and it's very difficult for people not to impose themselves. So that would be another way of looking at, managing the challenge and the difficulty. But we'll see, won't we, in the next little while?
Yeah. Well, I always recommend that people leave well alone and give it time. And you'll find my answer in a lot of the questions is there's no rush. Give it time. Let it grow. Let it develop.
Yes.
But when it comes to my tomato plants, I'm on them all the time, snipping, pruning, shaping, feeding, water. But then because I'm back, I'll just let it grow and just leave it and just forget about it.
Okay, so it's knowing what to. And you've got another fan here, I think. Digging is good for the soul. It's good for the soil, and for the soil, or the soul as well. So it's interesting. This is an interesting polarization of horticultural techniques. Lee, you've been amazing. Anna, you've been amazing. Everyone watching, chipping in with the questions, you've been amazing too. Keep them coming during the week in the group. It's so nice to get this sense of spring at the moment and people getting excited about getting out and growing, which is what this is all about. So thank you all very much indeed. And we'll be back next Monday at 6:15. Ciao, ciao.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Anna.